Lovelies, I've been asked to look at casting on and break that down for you. So I've been doing some research into the various types of casting on. So far I'm up to 12, most of which can be done either purl or knit. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people are confused. Now don't worry, I'm not going to teach you all of them. There is only 2 you need to start with.
Down a little alley in the heart of Kendal town is a tiny independent yarn shop. Welcome to the wonderful world of the Kitten and the Goat.
This is your first simple one loop cast on. You need to start with a slip stitch, which is just a loop, and then you thread the yarn through it to make another loop. Put it on the needle and it'll slip on tight. Now I'll need a couple of stitches to get going because it's quite hard. Your first couple of stitches tend to be a bit slippery, so you're putting the needle through one loop, one side, the very first little prong that's facing you. You're just putting your needle through it. You're wrapping the yarn around the needle that you've put through, and you're putting the loop that you've created onto the other needle. See, you're just putting it through the first little loop, round the back, pull it through, put it on that needle. Just keep going until you've cast on as many stitches as the pattern says. You can cast this one on purlwise as well. It's a little bit more fiddly, and to be honest, I'm not quite as keen on the pattern. I quite like the pattern line that the simple loop cast on makes. It's much neater. But if you get more advanced and you're working and you're going to do a rib border, then this is worth considering. So that's your first simple loop cast on. Now, this is the second cast on that you'll most commonly use. You start with your slip knot again, and you start exactly the same way by putting the point of the needle through the first little loop facing you. Basically the technique is the same, except instead of putting your needle through one loop, you're putting it between, see, spread that out between the 2 stitches, picking it up and slipping it on. Between both the 2 stitches, pull the loop through and put it on. This is called a hard cast on or a cable cast on, and it gives you a much firmer base to build your stitches on. It's the one I use most, particularly for toys, scarves, things like that particularly need to stay fairly rigid. You can cast it on purl as well. It's exactly the same. You put the needle through both loops, pull the yarn backwards as if you're working a purl stitch. But you can see how much I'm struggling. I really don't think it's worth the effort. You see, through between both loops of the stitch, that's a nice picture of it there. I really don't think it's worth the effort of trying to do it like that. And I think it just looks messy personally. There's one other little trick you're going to need to know, and that's casting on over a gap when you've got a buttonhole or a thumb hole or a pocket. You cast off as normal, however many it tells you to cast off, and then you turn the work around as if you were going to work back over the work. But what you do is you cast on. You can either use a single loop cast on or you can use your hard cast on. Hard cast on is normally better because it holds the shape over that gap. And then you cast on the number of stitches that you've cast off the previous row. Then you turn your work back again and you carry on to the end of the row. That's what gives you a gap for a pocket or a buttonhole or your thumb hole. It just leaves a hole in your knitting. There, see?
Well, my lovelies, I hope you found that little roundup useful and you've got a little bit better idea how to cast on. You start with your simple cast on and forget all these weird and wonderful cast ons because you probably never use them anyway. We've learnt some new techniques in my video editing. I can't say I'm getting that much better at it, but I did all sorts of new things. Might even get my picture a decent size one day. If you've got any ideas for future videos, then just drop me a line and we'll see you soon. Cheerio!